Welcome to the agenda with me, Lasha in Douala, Cameroon. On today's edition of the program, we are discussing gender-based violence, which has witnessed a rise in Cameroon of recent. And we're going to be doing that with a celebrated relationship expert, Daily Singer. Stay with us as we take on this short jingle break. You are coming on the program. Welcome once again, madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lasha. It's always a pleasure having a sit down with you, and I'm looking forward to us having a great time.
Yeah, we are talking about gender-based violence today, and I would not want us to look at it from, conventional definition. Like you rightly put yourself, you are a relationship expert. Can you make me understand what is meant by gender-based violence?
Right, I hope I got you clearly. What I understand by gender-based violence, an individual because of their gender. So basically, it's rooted, very rooted in gender inequality, whereby one gender thinks or sees themselves overly superior to the other gender. So based on that, violence is meted. So yeah. And of course, it's caused by a lot of things, which I think in the course of the talk or the discourse, we are going to be talking about them.
Yeah, so I asked you that question because many people, when they hear of gender-based violence, they only think about the manifestation of some of the aspects of this violence being perpetrated by men on women.
Oh, yes, of course. I love that we're talking about gender so that we can touch both genders. So it's not violence simply meted by the men on the women. It is also both ways. So women also cause violence to men.
Okay.
And yes, so I want us to look at maybe the factors that are causing these things and maybe possible solutions to them.
This interview was was provoked by
men face violence as much as women face violence. Yes.
Yeah, like I was saying, this interview was provoked by the recent upsurge in the rate of gender-based violence in Cameroon and many other African countries. And this has been linked to, domestic violence, a lot of cases being reported nowadays in Cameroon. What accounts for this upsurge of domestic violence in Cameroon?
I don't think there's one reason for that. It's a lot of different reasons. But of course, we are talking about it because of the recent happening. Of course, the lady that recently died, who is a celebrity, and it's been a wake-up call for the entire world, not just for Nigerians, Cameroonians, and I think the world at large. So people are beginning to ask themselves, what is happening? I think it's like I said, it's a combination of different reasons. So if you hear violence from one person, could be different. The reason could be different for another. Okay, I think the types of violence is even before going to the cause of the violence, because the type of the violence would greatly determine the cause of it. So the different types of violence, we have spiritual violence. Or abuse. We can use these words interchangeably. So abuse and violence. So when I say abuse, just understand it's violence. Yeah. So we have spiritual violence, we have financial violence, we have the physical violence, which is the one that is highly talked about. We have emotional violence, we have psychological or mental violence, and then we have, I think I've listed emotional violence. I hope I did not repeat that. So these are the different violences that we have. And unfortunately, most people get to talk just about the physical violence. Unknown to them, the physical violence is usually a response from the other violences that I'm just from listing. Okay, so maybe we get to break them down. You want us to talk which of them you want us to talk about?
Let's begin.
And yes, then I can zoom in on them. But these are the different violences. Okay, I missed out on sexual violence, just so we know. So these are the different violences that are there. But like I said, many people are always focused on physical violence. Unknown to them, it's just a response to the different types of violences that I've listed. Yeah.
Yeah, let's begin with emotional violence, because this is something that builds over time, and when it gets to a certain level, we're now seeing the manifestation of that kind of violence. And many people even refer to that type of violence as the primary violence, which is not even talked about.
Indeed, it's not talked about. The way I look at it, I think it's a chain of these things are interconnected. So let's start with verbal violence. So you get to talk to somebody violently, use abusive words on that person. Then it gets to emotional and mental violence. So they get to start seeing less of themselves than they ought to be seeing. So for instance, I start telling you, oh, you're not all of that. You're stupid. You're all of these negative adjectives that I can use on you. And before long, you feel down. You start feeling less of yourself, and then you start thinking less of yourself. You feel like you don't belong to a particular class and all of that. And then that could translate to how, you become defensive and want to fight back. And then the physical violence comes into play. So you see, like I said, it's interconnected. It's just one violence leading to the other, leading to the other, leading to the other. But it's different for every case or every scenario. So again, like I said, if we want to go by really talk about it, then we have to maybe take particular examples and then break them down the best way we can. Yes.
If someone is being victimized, and how can they seek help if you're being victimized or report cases of violence?
If someone is being victimized, say that again, please.
Yeah, if someone is being victimized, how do they report such cases of violence? How do they do it?
Of course, for those of you who don't know, I'm not based in Cameroon, I'm based abroad, okay? And fortunately or unfortunately, it's a bit tricky to be able to handle these things from afar. However, I'm made to understand there's always a system put in place. There's social services, there's the police, okay? And of course, Africans we're firmly rooted in our culture, and there's always, the family, which is, you get married to somebody and you marry their family as well. And I think they have they constitute an integral part of your life. So these are different places where you can run to. So you can run to your family members, you can run to your in-laws, you can run to social services, you can run to the police. These are places whereby, because at the end of the day, you don't want to take laws into your hands, so you have to seek solutions from these different sources. I don't know how it really works in Cameroon, to be honest, but I know that this part of the world, these services are well structured. They're well structured places to handle these things very properly. So in Cameroon, I'm meant to understand that the social services will handle matters that involve, the domestic abuse and violence, or the police, of course, would come to their rescue. So if you are somebody who is facing all of these things, I think these are the various places that you can run to if your family cannot immediately handle it for you.
In Cameroon, there are some tribes that are believed to be tribes that are prominent of violating the rights of women, and it is believed that it is a sign of showing love to their women. And I was just wondering, why do victims sometimes return or stay with their abusers?
As sad as that is, it's actually true that some people feel loved when they're being abused. Sometimes you cannot place both in the same sentence, but we find ourselves doing that. And of course, it's been tapped to some particular tribes, like if something is reoccurring, then they get, at the end of the day, we can draw a conclusion on the fact that if it's happening all the time, then these people are particular about the particular phenomenon. I think that if somebody is being abused and if they stay in there, there could be loads of reasons. One could, most often it's them not understanding who they are, not having the right sense of love. But sometimes that's the most they have had. That's the best they've ever been shown. So you see a woman staying in there, not necessarily because they want to stay there, but if you look at her history, she has had worst case scenarios. So this is the best she, or anything that is close to love that she has possibly had. And that's why she's staying there. There's nobody on earth who wants to be abused and stay there. Now, most often the abusers which word? I'm trying to look for the best word. They've mentally, they've corrupted them mentally and made them to feel less of themselves. So that's mental violence. And now they are taking less of what they deserve, and they feel like that's the norm. That's okay. So most often they don't have any better. They've never experienced anything better. They've never come to anything close to being better. That's the best they've had. So they think, okay, I might as well just stay here rather than, going out there and not knowing what to expect. So this is usually the reason why some women will stay in violent relationships or marriages and not feel like they need to leave.
What about the economic reason? Some people don't just have where to turn to or who to turn to, for survival.
And that's another reason too. Not having a means of livelihood is a contributing factor. So you get to the level where you are with a man, conscious, you know this man is violent. In fact, before getting into the relationship, you know he's violent. But you have to stay there because this man is your breadwinner. He takes care of your sisters, your siblings. He sends you to school. Matter of fact, the business you're running, he is the author and the finisher of it, and all of that. So you're meant to stay. So these are the different reasons. Like I said, different reasons for different couples. So, one cannot pinpoint on a particular reason because it's a lot of these reasons put together that is causing all of what we're having nowadays. Yeah.
During my research, I equally found out that men at a certain age, above 50, 60, they tend to be abused by their women.
Oh, that men at a certain age tend to be abused.
50,
I would say
50,
that
60, 50, 60.
We cannot use that as in a generic form, okay? Because a lot of men who are not abused at that particular age. I just am of the opinion that men are equally as abused as women. The only thing is, because physical violence most often is meted by the man on the woman, and that's what is usually seen because it leaves traces and all of that. Okay, they don't get to talk about men, the side of the man. Now, the men face these violences, not necessarily physical, but most often than not, verbally. So the women, we are known to vocalize our emotions and all of that. The man is known to suppress his. Okay, so when the man is known to suppress his, what he does, after a while when he cannot take it, he resorts to violence. But because we are the weaker gender, what we do is our mouths, for the most part, is our own power. So because we cannot fight and punch and do all of that, when we feel frustrated, we release it with our words, and our words can be that as bad as the punches as well. So if you're talking about violence methods to the man, oh yeah, I get it. But to say it is only at a particular age, well, I'm yet to read maybe that article that you read and how the got about those conclusions. But like I said, gender-based violence is 50-50 in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, when this incident happened in Nigeria, many people accused the church of trying to promote abusers, because sometimes when these cases are reported or brought to the churches, to pastors, they only suppress and try to say, no, what would the world say? This is the church. They try to arrange it the way they can in their own way. And at the end of the day, those who are abusing the women or men being abused, they don't get to face the consequences, especially the law.
Yes, Mr. Lasha, I get exactly what they're trying to say. But the funny part of it is most often when people are talking, they're talking based on what they read, maybe in the media or third-hand information, not necessarily first-hand information. I am of the school of thought that human beings are fond of pushing blames on others. So when you're faced with something, instead of taking responsibility, you're looking for the next available person or thing to put the blame on. Kids don't get married, Mr. Lasha. Adults do. Kids don't get into all of these things. So we'll not sit here and talk as if it is kids that got into it and their pastors have a cane and telling them what to do and what not to do. No, the church is an institution which is meant to show love. The church is meant to show to help marriages to thrive. There is no how the church, you would run to the church and the first solution the church is giving you is divorce. Normally they would want to see where the problem is coming from. We want to look at the causes. We want to look at what is pushing these things, the different triggers. And so if you get to your pastor and your pastor tells you, you know what, let's take out some time and see how we can work these things out, it doesn't mean he is promoting it. It is the same media, the same society that will castigate the church and tell the church that, oh, they are promoting divorces. If a pastor dares to tell you, okay, leave the man, okay? So we're looking at it. First of all, this is not an issue of the church. It stems from the choices that these Christians are making. We see the red flags every day. And this is one of the causes of violence. You meet a man, the man has shown you all the signs of being violent, and then you get into it and say, you know what, you love this person. At this point in time, there is nothing you and I or the pastor can possibly do. Matter of fact, we are limited. Our hands are tied. So I always say that Christians, some Christians and most of them, are not very honest with their choices. They're not very honest with what the information they give out. So the pastors are left with what you present to them. Okay, sometimes you're coming to the pastor and complaining about something when you are actually the cause of it. The pastor is only faced with the facts that you have presented, and he needs time to process all of that information. And you tell me, Mr. Lasha, what do you tell the Christian? Most you will do. I hope I'm not breaking because it looks like I'm breaking. The most you would do is give us time. Let's take our time and see how it's happening. And I think this is where most Christians are caught up with, oh, go and stay there. I understand some pastors do say that, but it's with the best of intentions. No pastor wants a Christian to be killed in these marriages. It is just the lies that the Christians bring, and then they wanting to stay in those marriages. They want to stay more than the pastors want them to stay. In all honesty, but they're looking for somebody to blame. So I think this is a topic for another day. I don't want to belabor this point. Okay. But like I said, yes, some pastors will tell you to stay and all of that because the Bible and justify them based on scripture. However, we are adults and we should take responsibilities for the actions and the choices that we make.
Yeah, something needs to be done, sincerely speaking, to help curb the upsurge in what we are witnessing. You run one of the biggest relationship platforms around the world. And what do you tell people who come to you, people who want to get into serious relationship? What do you tell them? What are the basics?
I always tell them to choose themselves first, to know who they are, to be in tune with themselves, to be in sync with themselves, to discover their purpose, to understand their strengths and the weaknesses. And then they can now make informed choices. Go in for somebody you're compatible with. Get to study this person and understand their strengths and their weaknesses to see if you're compatible with these persons before you can get into a relationship with them. Just like I said earlier on, most people see the red flags, they live in denial and tell themselves he or she is going to change. And of course, what you tolerate in dating is amplified in marriage. So most of these abuses and all of that, it starts from courtship and dating. And then they graduate it into marriage and expect that the person is going to change. Unknown to them, it is only going to get worse. So I always advise, especially singles, take your time, choose yourself first. If you don't choose yourself, nobody's going to choose you. If you don't treat yourself right, no other person is going to treat you. And this applies to both genders. So once you do that, when you are at peace with yourself, it resonates around you, and every other person looking at you, even the person admiring you, would admire you based on the fact that you have chosen yourself first. So it's all of these things, and we can talk about this all day, but like as I know that it's not much time to really expatiate on this, but just this bit would do a lot good to those of you listening to me. I mean, the singles especially.
Okay, you were equally appointed Managing Director of Miss Cameroon UK. What is the job of a Managing Director of Miss Cameroon UK? What do you do? Can you enlighten us on that?
So first of all, Miss Cameroon UK is an organization which is particular or is out to showcase the cultural diversity of Cameroon in the diaspora, the UK, that which I'm particularly involved with, and also to expose the different touristic opportunities that Cameroon has through beauty queens. So this is what we do. And as the managing director, I am meant to manage and direct. Simply put, so to manage all of what I've explained to you, my job description is way too much. But like I said, I think I've broken it down the best way that even a lay person can understand. And I hope that you do understand.
For how long have you been into office?
No, I just got into it. It's actually a new position that I mean, I'm as new as now. Okay, so I'm meant to carry out my first duties come up to August 2022. So we're looking at organizing the next edition in August, but we're starting with the casting call on Monday. So everyone watching me, whenever you get to see this video, just check on Miss Cameroon UK on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all of that. We're going to be doing all of what we have to do to get the next screen of Cameroon in the UK come August 2022. Yeah.
We gradually come
into activities.
Yeah, we are gradually coming to the end of the interview, and we will not end it without talking about your humanitarian activity. You equally run an NGO which is into assisting internally displaced persons of the Anglophone crisis, as well as the needy in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, as well as the center and the west region of Cameroon.
Yes, and it's such an honor for me. I always say that I'm in purpose, and all of what you list is just part of my purpose. So this is one of just an angle of my purpose. I have loads of these titles and positions that I occupy. Charity works is my first purpose, and it's reaching out to the orphans, the underserved, the disadvantaged persons in the community. So yearly, I would say Delhi Singer Foundation is more like the corporate social responsibility of my other organizations. So what we do, okay, we assist, we reach out, we give support to these persons yearly, and it's meant to be in the entire Cameroon. Okay, but of course, depending on the resources or the finances that we have in that particular year, we are able to budget for as many regions as we can. So yes, this year we've launched, and the foundation is out and about already doing the needful. So I guess in the days ahead, we are going to have all of what we're doing at the background put in the media or on our pages, just so that, I mean, those who are interested can see how much we are reaching out in our community and giving back to us. To me, it's giving back to my community. Yeah.
Okay. And your last words to men and women, especially couples these days, since we're talking about gender-based violence, and they are only promoting or portraying what men do on women, and we're apparently not seeing what women too are doing on men. What is your last words to couples who are watching us at this time?
I need us to understand that marriage is quite beautiful. For couples listening to me, marriage is a beautiful institution. God made it, and whatever God does is beautiful. So marriage that God orchestrated or initiated is beautiful. You're already, for those of you who are already in the marriages, it is still not a do or die. Do your best to keep your marriages. If it is up to you, I always say, do your best, do the most you can do. For the wives, there is no other formula. It is submission, respect and submission for a man. Okay, that's a thing for a man. You can cook whatever, do whatever styles in the bedroom, but if you do not respect the man, you are as good as nothing in his eyes. And to the man, it is when you can profess all the love that you claim to profess in this world. If she doesn't feel secure, you don't provide and protect her. She feels like she needs much more than that. She will never feel loved. So the men should love their wives by providing, protecting, and professing to them, and also the women should submit to their husbands and respect them. And I think with this, every other thing will fall in place. And for those of you who are yet to be married, it is a beautiful institution, regardless of the many things we see on the media that obviously can be really discouraging. It is still a beautiful institution. Just take your time, do not rush, choose yourself, and go for compatibility, and the rest will fall in place.
Okay, and the rest will fall in place. Before we go, this last one, recently we had a social media stormed by this issue of polygamy, and it's as if it is a crime in Africa for men to get married to more than one wife.
It's not a crime. Matter of fact, I am in this part of the world, which is a crime, but not in Africa. So if we're talking, depending on the demographic, I think when it comes to Africa, we are very tolerant with polygamy. Come on, we are very tolerant with polygamy.
Because
however,
a famous Nigerian.
I did say on the platform the other day, and I said that we should be careful not to go about cheating and calling it polygamy. Because polygamy is quite it's a structure which is very organized. So, and if you are if you're polygamous, or if you're a polygamous man, then you go in for polygamy, you sign for polygamy, you let the woman that you're about to get married to know that this is what you want, and if she's okay by that, both of you will agree to it. And when it comes to taking another wife or wives, she is part of that process. Men don't go about signing monogamy nowadays, and more men go about signing monogamy and then start sleeping left, right, center, bringing diseases in and out, and then telling them, and under the guise of polygamy. No. This is a slap in the face of polygamous men who are intentional about that institution, and I think we should be honest to tell ourselves what we are doing. So yeah, okay. Polygamy. I am very lax with that, okay? It's not my thing, but I'm open to that conversation and understand that a lot of other persons, Africans especially, even the women, they go in for that, and it's a matter of choice. However, let us be honest with what we want rather than trying to, play on people's intelligence by doing other things and then targeting polygamy. So yeah, that's it. Whatever works for you, go for it.
Thank you so much, Daily Singer, for taking out time to join us for your second time on this platform. We are honored you honored our invitation as usual.
I'm very much honored, and thank you so much. And I'm always available whenever you need me. I'm at your service. Thank you so much, Mr. Lasha.
You're welcome.